Everyone, and welcome to our monthly meeting of the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals. At this time, I would like to ask everyone who can stand to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I will call to order and then hand it to you. I will now call the meeting to order. Standard statement. Please silence your cell phones. Before we go any further, Ms. Swanson has a comment she would like to make.
I'm requesting that everybody please take a moment of silence for Murray Homing, who passed away recently on May 17th. Murray served on the BZA and the Cobb Planning Commission for 30 years. At the end of every meeting that he chaired, he would say in his jolly voice, have a good day, and then different variations on how everyone should go out and spend their money. So I would like to take 30 seconds to just keep him in our thoughts.
Thank you. For those who do not have a copy of the agenda or who are attending for the first time, we will concern ourselves with the cases that are on consent. These are cases that have been reviewed by the board and by the professionals from the various departments of the county, and to which there's no known opposition at this time. We have discussed these in our work session, and certain staff comments have been made, and we do not anticipate any further discussion for a decision. So, as we go forward, the county zoning manager, Mr. Peterson, will read each case into the record and will ask you to raise your hand as your case is called to signify you're present. If you have any opposition to this, please also indicate it at this time. So, at this point, I can hand them off to Mr. Peterson.
And thank you, Madam Chair. Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals variance hearing consent agenda for June the 12th, 2024. First case on consent is variance case V55. Todd Horitz requests a variance to allow a fence to exceed 6 feet in height when adjacent to a public road right-of-way, and the fence is 8 feet in height in land lots 146, 147, 214, and 215 of the 16th District. The property is located on the southwest corner of Norman Drive and Shiloh Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to traffic comments. Is the applicant present? Present. Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V55? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V58, Jason Toole PE requests a variance to number 1, increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from 78%, which was granted per variance V58 of 2017, to 78.91%. Number 2, reduce the front setback from required 50 feet to 36 feet. Number 3, reduce the front landscape enhancement strip from required 8 feet to 4 feet. And number 4, reduce the side setback for the freestanding canopies from required 10 feet to 3 feet adjacent to the south property line for the order canopy, and to 6 feet adjacent to the north property line for the meal canopy or meal delivery canopy in land lot 1061 of the 16th District. The property is located on the northwest corner of Summit Village Drive and Rosser Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to number 1, traffic comments, and number 2, stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Okay. Okay, the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V58? Okay, let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V75, Crunch Fitness, request a variance to increase the maximum sign area for a wall sign for a building over 2 stories or over 20 feet in height from 200 square feet to 420 square feet in land lot 208 of the 20th District. The property is located on the northeast side of Cobb Parkway, the northwest side of Ernest Barrett Parkway, and the east side of Vaughn Road, and west side of Cobb Place Boulevard. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
The director of the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V75?
No.
All right, let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V76, Douglas Congenitalton requests a variance to reduce the rear setback from required 30 feet to 24 feet in land lot 271 of the 19th District. The property is located at the eastern terminus of Brook West Drive, east of Katy Lane. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V76?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V77, Brittany Scholler requests a variance to number 1, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a proposed 1,050 square foot detached garage required 100 feet to 23 feet adjacent to the north property line, 7 feet adjacent to the west property line, and 60 feet adjacent to the east property line. And number 2, allow parking and/or maneuvering on a non-hardened and treated surface, which is grass, in land lot 1146 of the 19th District. The property is located on the north side of Crestbrook Lane, west of Anna Way. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, traffic comments. Number 2, no residential dwelling use or commercial use of the accessory structure. And number 3, applicant to install and maintain a gravel drive to the detached garage. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V77? So we have one. One opposed. We'll pull that one off consent, Madam Chair and Board, and we'll put it into regular order. All right. Next case is variance case V79. Joseph H. Harshbarger requests a variance to number 1, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an existing approximately 2,766 square foot frame building with awnings from required 100 feet to 16 feet adjacent to the south property line and 13 feet adjacent to the rear property line on track number 1. Number 2, allow 2 accessory structures, which is an existing approximately 1,312 square foot shed and existing 480 square foot carport to be located to the front of the principal building on track number 2. Number 3, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an existing approximately 1,312 square foot shed for required 100 feet to 15 feet adjacent to the front property line and 85 feet adjacent to the south property line. Number 4, reduce the rear setback from required 40 feet to 29 feet, which is an existing condition. And number 5, reduce the minimum house size on track number 2 from 1,350 square feet to 1,267 square feet in land lots 285 and 308 of the 19th District. Property is located on the east side of Midway Road, north of Lost Mountain Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, site plan review comments. Number 2, no other subdivision of the property. And number 3, no residential dwelling use or commercial use of any of the accessory structures on track 1 or 2. Is the applicant present? That director, so the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of V79?
No.
That director says no one opposed. Variance case of V80, Al Ziegler requests a variance to number 1, allow an accessory structure, which is a proposed 2,560 square foot shop building to be located in front of the principal building. Number 2, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure, which is the proposed 2,560 square foot shop building from required 100 feet to 20 feet adjacent to the east property line and 70 feet adjacent to the west property line. Number 3, allow parking and/or maneuvering of vehicles on a non-hardened and treated surface, which is an existing gravel drive. And number 4, allow a second electrical meter on a residential property in land lot 113 of the 20th District. The property is located on the north side of Rabbit Run, a private road east of Cheatham Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to no residential dwelling use or commercial use of the accessory structure. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V80? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V81, Sanaa Zabe requests a variance to number 1, allow a second electrical meter on a residential property. Number 2, reduce the side setback from required 10 feet to 8 feet adjacent to the south property line, and that is an existing condition. Number 2, allow an accessory structure, which is an existing approximately 160 square foot shed number 1 to be located to the side of the principal building. Number 3, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure over 144 square feet for an existing approximately 160 square foot shed number 1 required 10 feet to 3 feet adjacent to the north property line. Number 4, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure over 144 square feet for an existing approximately 160 square foot shed number 2 required 10 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the south property line. And number 5, reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure over 144 square feet for an existing approximately 160 square foot shed number 2 required 35 feet to 5 feet in land lot 64 of the 17th District. The property is located on the west side of Massachusetts Avenue, north of Carolina Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, development inspections comments, and number 2, no residential dwelling or commercial use of the accessory structures. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Let the record show the applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V81? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V82, Delaney Properties LLC requests a variance to allow a second electrical meter on a residential property for a building previously approved under V21 of 2024 in land lot 221 of the 20th District. The property is located on the south side of Stylesboro Road, east of Ackworth US Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to all previous stipulations from V21 of 2024 to remain in effect. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V82?
No.
Okay, let the record show there's no one opposed. And that completes the consent agenda, Madam Chair and Board.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. So now it's back to this board. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns on any of these cases from anyone here? Go for it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to clarify on a couple, John, to make sure we have all this right. On V82, those prior steps, that would include no commercial use of the property and no second residential use. Are those covered?
Correct.
Okay, that's fine. And then on V79, we have, you've already stipulated no further lot splits allowed, correct? Has that been read in yet?
Yes.
Okay, and no residential or commercial use of any accessory structure? Is that already been
Yeah, on
read?
track 1 and 2.
Okay, and then the third, you told me I would have to read in, so my motion would be that we amend the consent agenda to include an additional stipulation to V79 that within 90 days of today's date, the applicant is to record a plat showing the lot split and showing the location of the driveway easement.
Okay.
I second.
All right. All in favor? Thank you. Good. All right. Motion passes 5-0. Now, Mr. Peterson, it's back to you, isn't it?
Was that a motion
Yeah.
to amend
No,
the
I'm-
consent agenda or to approve the consent?
It was to
agenda?
amend, so I guess now I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda
Okay,
as
sorry.
amended.
Okay. Do it. And you, okay, second. All right. All in favor? Opposed? Yes. Okay. Everything on the consent agenda has now been approved with those stipulations. Now, if you're on the consent agenda, You're welcome to leave if you'd like. Just do so as quietly as possible. Now we're over to the regular case agenda. Our pers- Ju- Yeah, you're fine. You'll be called. Yeah. All right, folks. Okay, we are now ready to proceed with our regular case agenda. Our procedure is that Mr. Peterson will read the case into the record. The applicant, likewise anyone wishing to speak in opposition, will be asked to come forward and be sworn in as well. The applicant and the opposition both have 10 minutes each to present their case. All testimony will be made from the podium to my right, where we have full AV capabilities. Testimony will be followed by questions from the board and may be directed at either party. A reminder is once the comments from all parties related to the case have concluded and the public hearing has been closed, there are no further comments from the parties involved unless requested by a member of the board, at which point we'll ask you to return to the podium. Mr. Peterson? Oh, thank you. We also have added now, if you have opposition or you're additionally in support of the variance request, you will be able to speak as well within that time frame. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, going into the regular agenda, first case we're going to hear is variance case V77. Brittany Scholler requests a variance to number 1, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a proposed 1,050 square foot detached garage, required 100 feet to 23 feet adjacent to the north property line, 7 feet adjacent to the west property line, and 60 feet adjacent to the east property line. And number 2, allow parking and/or maneuvering on a non-hardened surface, which is grass, in land lot 1146 of the 19th district. The property is located on the north side of Crestbrook Lane, west of Anna Way. The applicant is present, and earlier there's one person opposed. All those who wish to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
Ms. Willis, this is your case. I'll let you handle it.
Good afternoon. If you will state your name, your address, and if you would tell us a bit about your variance.
I'm Brittany Scholler. I live at 1194 Crestbrook. Sorry about that. I'm Brittany Scholler. I live at 1194 Crestbrook Lane, Southwest, Mableton, Georgia, 30126. Looks like the property's available on the screen. May I approach with a few documents for support of explanation? Okay. Sorry, I did 5 copies. I guess I should have done 6. Sorry. We are requesting this variance, as it's been stated, for a additional structure in our back of our property. It would be a 2-car garage. We intend to put up some privacy trees as well, which is documented in the second page that was handed out. And the purpose of the building is to help store equipment and recreational gear, as well as be able to use our current garage to park our vehicles. Currently, our house does not have any real storage, so we've been using our garage more for storage and equipment. Equipment meaning like woodworking tools, kayaks, that sort of thing. We would like to be able to increase the appearance of the front of our home by moving some of our storage and equipment to the back of the property so that we can park our car and properly store gear rather than having like a canoe sitting in our backyard. So are there any questions I can address?
Do you have anything else that you would like to present to us within the time frame that you have?
Just those two documents.
Okay, if you're done, and you can have a seat, and I'll call you back up if we have questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And ma'am, we can now hear from you. When you come up, you will share with us your name, your address, and your opposition to the variance request.
My name is Janice Brooks, and I live at 1193 Crestbrook Lane, Southwest in Mableton, Georgia. I'm really I traveled back and forth from Connecticut to Georgia, and I'm not always home there. And my first knowledge of this was when I came this Thursday, and I saw the variance sign. So I figured I should come to this meeting. That's the purpose of my being here. This is my first time coming to a meeting like this, so I might not, be right. I might not say everything that I'm supposed to say, but I would like to say that I would question whether or not a two-car garage is necessary, simply because the people who currently live there have two garages. Their house is probably bigger than mine. I don't know, I'm not sure, but I do hear a lot of noise there. I would want to make certain that it remains a residential neighborhood versus a commercial neighborhood. I do hear a lot of noise there from time to time when I am there. She mentioned that they have woodworking equipment in the front of the building, and I guess maybe they want, to move it to the back. But I want to make sure that it remains a residential neighborhood. I would also question like a two-car garage in the back of a house is necessary. The current people have a fence around their house. Well, I would question, how would you get two cars out of there? I recently had to replace my water line, and I think that their neighbor on the opposite side, the left side, had to replace theirs. And I'm wondering, how is this going to affect me? So I'm not really sure about, the back. I don't know if they have enough room for a two-car garage, but it seems like they're requesting an awful lot of space. And how is that going to affect me in the future, like when another family moves in? I'm not sure. So that's why I'm questioning this. I want it to remain residential. I don't want it to be commercial. They said a grass in the back versus a paved driveway. That means more, now this is petty, but that means more mud on a rainy day. It also means, like, who's going to clean that up? I don't know. Gravel. 2 garages in the back of your house. Is it really for storage or a garage? Isn't it supposed to be for cars? They have 2 cars that I know of. She said they were going to store their kayak and some other tools that they have. I would question that. I really would. I'm not sure, like what the real plans are, but I would question it. Are there any questions for me?
Is it all that you would have to present to us today?
That's pretty much it.
Okay, because you do have 4 minutes left on the clock.
I can't stress enough, residential versus commercial. I do not want to see this turned into a commercial area. Another person could come in and decide that they want to open up a business there. If you have, and two large storage, I believe there's storage areas, two large storage areas in the back of, I think it's a 4-bedroom house. There's certainly adequate parking for 2 cars. But this is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll call you back up if we have questions.
Mr. Peterson, what's the zoning? Are we finished with everybody? We need to close the public hearing first. I'm sorry. Does anybody else have any questions? I just was asking if this, what is the zoning in that area?
This is zone R20.
Yeah, okay. I did. Just did.
Does any of my fellow board members have any questions or concerns?
I would just like to hear more about the possibility of woodworking equipment out here and what uses are made of those.
Okay, will the applicant please come back up, please, and speak to that?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm happy to speak to that.
Sure.
So my husband and I both do woodworking. Some of it is for friends and family, some of it is on a commission base. We do not have clients to our home. We are not running a manufacturing plant out of our current 2-car garage. The equipment for that would be stored in the back building, which should actually make things quieter for our neighbor. We don't run equipment at odd hours or anything like that. We also use it to do repairs to our house. Does that answer the question?
Does that satisfy the board member?
I do have one more question for the applicant while she's up there. Did you can you tell me first, actually it might be 2 or 3 questions. Can you tell me first what your exterior siding is for your house that's there?
It's like a standard siding. I'm sorry, I'm not super technical on that. It's like a standard siding that you would buy at Home Depot. It's like a composite material.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you give any thought to making this new structure you're proposing the same sort of exterior materials?
I would love to, but it would be a financial impossibility for us. Like a standard building like that would be more like $70,000, and the structure we're putting in is like more like 20.
Okay. Do you
We are
plan-
planning to color match our house to coordinate with the building and actually make several other improvements to our property to make it seem very cohesive. And it is behind a fence and going to be shielded by privacy trees to the back of the property.
Okay. Did you have any, are you proposing to run electrical to this structure or not?
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns from the board?
One quick question. You can be seated. This is staff. Oh, well, then,
I have a question.
Yeah.
So this is just a storage shed, and then also for you to do your woodworking, is that correct?
Woodworking, we do have a 16-foot canoe that we can't have in our garage along with a table saw in our current space. My husband's truck is also too long to fit in our current garage. So it would be potentially parked back there at times or in our driveway, but the idea would be that we would actually have a place where we could store his truck sometimes. This is
So to have 2 garage doors is to facilitate possibly just one truck?
Yeah,
At
or
times?
if we ever were to have any other equipment, or so a truck can be parked and we can remove things and out of the other bay without having to move the vehicle and shuffle things around all the time.
And then you'll have this side door that'll get in and out of your house. But the two bays, you have a two-car garage?
Yes.
And so you're proposing to remove all of the equipment
Mm-hmm.
into this storage unit? And then it's a potential to also park additional cars or trucks?
We're not planning on buying another vehicle. I have a car, my husband has a truck. When we remove things from our current garage, I will be able to park in the truck again, park my car in the garage that's attached to the home and use that normally, which is something I would really like to be able to do.
And so, and your husband with the truck, does he park in the garage? Will there be room, do you know?
We're hoping to be able to store his truck in there as needed, or on our driveway. But it would give us the possibility to be able to do that. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
I don't see on your diagram where the driveway goes from the front of your property to that garage.
Our hope is that if this is approved, we'll run a gravel driveway that runs from behind the fence to the building. And then our driveway is concrete currently. It's in pretty close need of being replaced. So when it's being replaced, we would extend the concrete to meet where the fence is. That way it's a polished, all same color concrete in the front of the property, and the gravel would only exist behind the fence.
Okay, all right, your shading was such that I did not see the driveway shading, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry, the printer printed out a little different than what it looks like on this screen. But yeah, that wider curved driveway coming from the structure would be where the gravel is being placed.
Yeah.
I'd just like to make a comment. I don't necessarily have an issue with having this as a storage unit. And then given that it is a storage unit to store your canoe and to do your woodworking, I am not in favor of having two garage doors and then making it a potential for storing additional cars, trucks, or whatever. It's stated, I believe, that this is a storage unit, and I just think it has the potential to become something more. So that's just my opinion of it.
Does anyone else have any questions or concerns for the applicant? All right, you can have a seat, please. Does anyone have any questions or concerns for the opposition? Okay, I am ready to make my motion. My motion is to approve V77 with the following conditions. As previously stated, that it's not used as a residential, that is not used for residential or commercial use. So all the comments that were in there before, Mr. Peterson, with the addition that if there is woodworking done, that it is not to be done after 8:00 p.m. so that the neighbors don't have to deal with noise after that time.
Okay.
Do I have a second? Second, okay, Ellen, please.
Wait, can I pose a question? Would you consider, or did you consider imposing any restriction on the number of deliveries so as to make sure that there's not a business type use out there?
That was in the original stipulation for it to
That
be
is?
no. Mhm.
Okay,
It
thank you.
is. All right, are we good? Okay, everyone, please place your vote. Passes 4-1 in favor. Thank you very much. Okay, next case.
Okay, next case is variance case V78 of 2024. Zhang Zhang requests a variance to number 1, reduce the front setback from required 35 feet to 30 feet, and number 2, reduce the side setback from required 10 feet to 8 feet adjacent to the west property line and land lot 1043 of the 16th District. The property is located on the south side of Fairfield Drive, north of Hillwood Drive. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V78?
We have three.
Three? Okay, let the record show there's 3 people here opposed. All those who wish to address the board, please come forward, be sworn in.
Hello. My name is Abed Mohammed, live at 845 Fairfield Drive, Marietta, Georgia, 30068. Basically, we was trying to renovate our home, and we did some addition, and it fell, kind of reduce the setback a little bit on the front and on the side. So the county requests us to get a new home permit based on the amount of renovation we did. So this is what triggered the variance for the setback. I think the setback on the side was 10 feet. Now we're 9 feet, 3 inches. And on the front, I believe we're to the house is 36 feet, but we do have an open air pergola that reduces it to 30 feet, 8 inches. I don't know what else to say, but I want to hear what the board have to say and what the opposition have to say about it.
So your name again is?
Abed Mohammed,
So you're representing,
John Dozang, it's my father-in-law. We all live in the same home.
you all live in the same home?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You can have a seat, and then we'll ask for the opposition to come up, and then after that, I'll ask you to come forward.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mitch Jablow. I live at 855 Fairfield Drive, Marietta, Georgia. So I am directly next door to the property in question. So we have the most interest in this variance request. It is our opinion that our neighbor has overreached in his attempt to remodel his home. It's my belief that he does construction work and should have been aware of the zoning regulations. It appears that he has overreached in terms of building forward and to the side that is closest to our home. The requested variance of the 2 feet on the side of the building brings that home uncomfortably close to our master bedroom and bath. I do not see any reason to approve a setback from 35 feet in the front to 30, nor do I see any reason to approve a setback on the right side facing our home to the 2 feet from 10 feet to 8 feet. I hope this is not a case of it's easy to request, rather than ask for permission to request forgiveness, but it's our opinion that he should have been aware of the requirements before he overreached in his construction. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jill Flam. I'm representing East Cobb Civic Association. The applicant tore down the existing home and built a new one on the existing foundation, increasing the square footage of the home from the original 1,700 square feet to 6,400 square feet. The builder submitted a plan and received a permit to build an uncovered front porch. However, the builder instead built a covered pergola that extended further than the one originally planned for and which now encroaches on the front and side setbacks. The builder submitted a plan for work that would not have required a variance, but then chose to build outside the scope of the initial plan and now seeks a variance after the fact. This is, in our opinion, asking for forgiveness. The applicant caused the problem. When our case manager, Ben Alper, talked with the owner about this variance, he asked for a copy of the signatures of the homeowners adjacent to the project, as there was none included with the application. He was promised it would be sent to him. It never was, and it is not online. Indian Hills Civic Association, a member of ECCA, was contacted on June 5th by ECCA. Indian Hills Civic Association told us they were also not in favor of this variance. Per Indian Hills Civic Association, we don't have protective covenants other than the code. There is no hardship. The lot is plenty big for anything they want to do within the code. ECCA also cannot find any hardship in this case. We recommend, along with Indian Hills Civic Association, denial of this request for a variance. We also recommend that the applicant come into compliance with the code within 45 days. Thank you very much.
Could,
We need to close the public.
okay, close.
We've now closed the public hearing, and we will ask some people to come forward and answer additional questions. Thank you.
Could I have the applicant come forward, please? So I have a few questions. So you built a new house on the existing foundation, or did you remove the foundation?
The existing foundations, existing subfloor is still there.
The existing subfloor is still there?
Yes,
So it's noted that the existing foundation was within the setbacks. It didn't have any variances or attached to it?
Correct.
So it was in the correct setback?
correct.
So on 8/10/2023, I show a plan that you submitted to the building and inspections. Is that correct? Can you explain how you proceeded, since you're a builder, how you proceeded from purchasing the home, demoing the home down to its current
Well-
foundation, and then the process in which you went to get this permitted?
So we purchased the home, I don't know the exact date, but we lived there for about 4 years. And then we decided, our kids go to school in that neighborhood. And we decided to renovate our home just to add one additional bedroom and kind of open up the living area a little bit with a back deck addition, front addition, and just kind of open up the floor plan a little bit. So I don't know where 6,500 square feet come from, but basically what we did a covered deck area. We extended a second floor for a additional master bedroom. And so basically we lived in the home, and it seemed small for a growing family because my in-laws, my wife, and 3 kids live in that home. And we just needed an additional bedroom and just kind of open up the space a little bit.
So the plan that you submitted to the building, to inspections, it was approved?
Well, it was a renovation, and a plan was not required at that time. But after they request us to get a new permit and void the existing permit, that's when I submitted that plan. They want to get an idea of what we're doing, which everything we did, the foundation part of it was approved for inspections. And, you know, we continue framing on top of that foundation that was approved. Because the front area wasn't covered. It was what it extended forward, it's not covered. It's just a decorative pergola area.
So when you went to get the permit to build on this plan, did that show your setbacks? Did it show that you had a front setback issue and a side setback issue?
When the original permit, we did not have any issues like that because it was a renovation permit. And where we dug the foundation and everything, pretty much the existing house foundation is in line, it's still there. It's just the front area, it's some pillars that kind of supported that front pergola area.
So then, can you explain the process of you came to get a permit to build, you gave them the plan that showed what you were going to build, and then you went to building, and what was the process in which you realized or you were told that you were now into setbacks? What was the changes that were required, that required them to then put a stop hold on your work?
Well, basically, we went for permitting, and a plan was not required. Everything that was required was given to the building department. A plan was not required, so we didn't submit a plan because it was a renovation. Everything was outlined in the renovation permit. And the chief building inspector, I guess, came by and looked at what was going on. And what I realized, everything that was on my permit wasn't in their system. And he went off of that. So that, by the time, how do I say it? It seems like I went over the scope of work, but I basically did not for what I put on the permit. And because it triggers a new home permit, that's where we get into the setback issue. Because of the new home permit.
So are you a licensed builder?
No, I live in a home. I've done construction, you know, for many years, but this is just our home. We're renovating. We're not.
Have you gone through permitting process for other
Yes.
things that you've done construction with?
I did the same exact thing for one of my other homes where we lived in, and it was almost identical, and I didn't have any issues. So when we moved to Indian Hill, my kids was like, Dad, we had a cool house. You know, let's do the same thing. So I did the same exact thing. I have photos, I have well documented, it's almost identical.
Okay. I don't have any more questions right now. Does anybody here have a question? Okay, I'm going to ask you just to be seated. You don't have to go back to the room.
Okay.
Because I'll bring you up again. You can have a seat, please.
Thank you.
Could I ask for Matt Anthony to come forward in building and inspections?
Do I need to press a timer or just, we good?
You're good.
Okay.
You can state your name and your position.
I'm the Chief Building Inspector for Cobb County. I was notified about 845 Fairfield from one of our other inspectors in the area, noticing that there was a little bit more construction work going on than what was presented to our office. Our inspectors are out in the field daily. They're out in the field doing multiple areas. All of our inspectors work together as a team. And when this came up, this originally was a renovation addition permit.
Can you explain the difference between a renovation permit and that of took it down to the foundation, and
Yes.
that of a new home permit?
Well, there's a lot of, when you renovate a structure, you're renovating everything that's existing.
That's
If I want to
existing
renovate this,
into-
if I want to renovate this room, I'm going to renovate what's in here. If I want to make an addition, I'm going to get an addition to add on to make the structure bigger. But if you remove said items that constitute a house, walls, roof, you expand this property's structure from 1,700 square foot. Total square foot of the house with including unfinished basement was 1,900 and some change. Now we have total is 6,500. There's no way of getting to that point without creating a new structure. And this house was built in the early 70s, and when you start removing all this, and once you get past 50% of new construction, new cost, you have to bring it up to new applicable codes. It can't, you can renovate a home, but once you go past a threshold, we have to now bring up everything to new electrical, new plumbing, new safety, new, energy. So we get to this point a lot of times in this county is where people come in wanting to do this, but such that they go over the amount of the original square foot of the home, it really constitutes a new home. And
So-
you
so
want
then-
that. What's
So
that?
that's helpful. I have a question though. So when it got to the point where you realized, or your inspectors realized, that this home now has had the walls removed more than just a renovation, then was the applicant notified that he had to come into the county for a new home permit? Was he notified?
Yes, but
So when he came in for the new permit, did that new permit show that he was building within the setbacks? And did he get permitted to build?
well, my process when we start this, it's a stop work order. We're cease and desist from all current construction. He's going to come in and we're going to discuss and on the stop work order, we put all the documents required. There was also supposed to be an updated plat information. And when we start looking at, we didn't necessarily know at the time that he was over the setbacks. We were just more concerned with the original primary structure had been removed. It no longer existed. It said for the original foundation wall, part of the first floor, subfloor, and part of the garage, and that's it. For us, when we get to that point, we basically have to do a demo permit. Because in the eyes of the tax assessor, this structure no longer exists. The structure from 1973 no longer exists.
So then the applicant says he's done building before. He pulled the structure down without coming in to request a demo permit.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, he submitted everything for a renovation addition.
Renovation, but that doesn't
include tearing down the
demo.
entire house and rebuild. It's just like the house was fire damaged. You would tear it down to the original foundation. We rebuild on existing foundations all the time with an approved engineer letter. So that's where we stop. We get out, we gather everything together. I asked for a set of plans. I asked for a set of as-built survey to show where this structure was. An as-built survey was, if he was going to do an addition coming into zoning, they would have looked at this, how far is this coming out? And that's where the zoning department had requested a new plat because there was some changes in the front setbacks. And this as-built was done, I think, in November of last year after he had applied for and received the renovation addition permit. So, and then the original set of plans, when I asked for the original set of plans, they were done by a design professional a month prior to us issuing a renovation addition. So somehow the applicant knew that this was the intent of what we were going. But for a renovation addition, just to add a front porch, it was just a hand-drawn piece of paper. And if it had stayed in the required setbacks and that's what it was, then there wouldn't have been an issue.
At any time, when he came in with these set of plans that he had done, you looked at those plans and was there anything in which, on either the plans that he had professionally done or the plans that he had written on, was there anything that you saw that would create him having to come in for a variance? Because he was going to add, instead of like a deck, he added the pergola. Was there anything in those plans that you had a discussion with him of what he could do and couldn't do?
Well, yes, so the original renovation addition permit was only for, it was a 1,320 unheated. And that's indicative of just a covered porch. But if you're adding heated square foot, that was never expressed. So he added a master bedroom on the back. He added additional square footage to the front. That's all heated square foot. So then that pushed out the front to this covered. Well, a pergola, by nature, even though it doesn't have a roof, it's still a structure. And a pergola cannot be in the building setbacks. I mean, we don't, if someone wants to do an accessory, it has to be within the building lines or the back lines. So if you had a deck, it could cantilever over or in the setbacks. But a structure that's a facade of a house cannot be in the setbacks. So that's where this prompted another whole, what did we do? Where did this came? That's when the as-built survey became imperative to find out where we were at. The house is actually oriented and not parallel to the road, so it's a little bit turned and a little, so then that kind of prompted the issue on the front right, and then obviously the front setback is, I think, basically about 4 to 5 feet over.
So he had come in with the set of plans showing a deck.
Yes.
But what you had seen upon going out for inspection, it was a pergola. And then
It's a brand-new house.
It's a brand-new house with a pergola,
Yes.
and now we have setbacks.
And my inspector went out there, and he did the footing inspection, and he did the slab inspection. But at the time, this house was still substantially there. So it's not like the house was completely gone, and then we did the footing inspection, because the house is completely gone. Obviously, there is no renovation addition. There's nothing to renovate or add on to. It's gone. So we did do a footing inspection for a possibility of having a deck. We also did a slab inspection that he put on there. He was moving the front porch out 22 foot. So we did the inspection on that, and he passed
So
that.
you'd done an inspection for footings that would have been within the setbacks?
Yeah, they
Within the
would have been fine for what he was proposing and what
Proposed.
he proposed as a renovation, as an addition. We have to, when we issue these permits, we're basing everything's moving forthright. Until such time we go out there, we have measures in place. We have a zoning compliance inspection where we go out there and we verify what they actually are doing, apples to apples, and it matches what we have within we issue the permit for. So at that point, it matched what he presented. And then that's where the problem, when another inspector came by and said, hey, this house is gone. Well, that certain inspector is also the ones in charge of demos. And so he looked up in the system, he's like, well, this house no longer exists. And he's looking up, he goes, well, I don't see a permit for a demo for this house because it's gone.
Okay,
That prompted us to go out there for the stop work order.
thank you. Does anybody have any more questions?
You're telling me the entire house, except for foundations or footers, was taken down?
Correct.
Okay. What's the status now?
At the time, with all this was transpiring around February, we gave Mr. Muhammad, we told him he could dry it in, he could cover it up the windows, but I have not been out there since this time. But at the time, it was open windows, everything was rough framed, the roof was on, there was no siding on it. But every exterior wall, it's alone for maybe 2 walls where the original garage was gone.
I understand things have changed, but So one of my questions was, what's the status now? And you're saying there's a nearly complete house?
No, it's probably at this, it's rough framed and it has a roof on it. It doesn't have windows in it, I don't believe. I have a picture of what it looks like right now.
Okay,
But
rough frame,
It's
rough
probably about
frame then.
70%.
Rough frame then. And so we're in a neighborhood where it's commonplace these days for folks to pay a pretty good chunk of change and buy a house on the lot, rip it down, and build a new, much larger house. That's going on all over the place in Indian Hills, right?
Yes, sir, every day.
So what could be done here to avoid having to rip all this down? I guess get these variances is the only way clear to?
There's a couple aspects, but this also was presented at the time as a homeowner permit.
Uh-huh.
All right, and we have to allow a homeowner to do it, but because there's laws that, if it's your primary structure. The primary structure for this was the primary residence is off of Holly Springs Road. That's where they primarily live. Our office will allow a homeowner to do the work on another one if that's going to be their primary residence.
Okay.
We do allow that, but there is conditions with a homeowner permit because they're not versed in a lot of these aspects. They are not versed in what particularly would go down as far as the code inspections and procedures and whatnot. Typically, in the tear down rebuilds with indicative in Indian Hills, they will buy said property. They will go and get a demo permit, and we will complete the demo permit and prepare the site for the new construction and then the new house. Then they will, at the same time or right after the demo permit is completed, they will submit the application for the new home, and that goes through all the regular channels of stormwater, zoning, site plan review, all the other aspects of what a new home would be established.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we're being asked today to make a decision on whether or not to issue some variances, right? And, you're basically telling us that if we don't do it, you're going to require him to rip down everything above the footers? Is that it?
No, sir, I don't believe the house, there's a front facade to this house. There's a projection that comes out that holds the deck. It holds, there's a design element of the house. If that's removed, it'll take care of the front setback. It possibly will take care of the right setback. But this facade, this open air pergola, was never expressed in any way or shape or form to this office or the zoning department.
So you're saying he could come into compliance, at least with respect to the front setback, he could come into compliance without destroying the structure?
Yes.
Okay. What about the side setbacks?
I think the side setback, there again, I have a picture and then the measurements and stuff, but the front projection, I believe because the house is skewed a little bit more to the neighbor, I believe that does come over for whatever reason. I don't know why, but it does extend past. The original house had a setback on that side where there was a covered porch originally, and they extended the front end of the house. And because the property, the house is oriented, skewed a little bit, when builders build houses, they build it to the maximum amount they can get in there. And the maximum amount at the time was 10 foot, and it still is 10 foot. And they built the corner of the house to that 10 foot. So anything past that point would have been in the setback. And that's when the zoning department originally reviewed it. They didn't see any issue because it did not, at that time, present itself. This facade didn't exist. And this was just going to be a covered porch.
All right, let's go back to the side setback. To what extent is he exceeding or encroaching on the side setback?
I looked at it again today with our computer, sir, and it's, here, I got it right here. Based on our calculations of the as-built that was presented, and it was scaled correctly, the right side back, basically where the front projection of the facade is at 8 foot 8 inches, give or take.
So a foot 4 inches is the extent of his incursion. Is that what you're saying?
Well, about, it's actually a foot, 12 or 10, what's it? A foot and 4 inches, yes.
Okay. And what about the front setback?
Front
To what
setback.
extent is he encroaching there?
I believe it was, we're supposed to have 45 foot, and he was at 41 foot, 42 foot. So it's about 4 foot over.
Okay.
3.5 to 4 feet over on the front.
Okay, thank you.
So I have one last question. The variance is requiring the front setback from the required 35 to 30 and the side setback from the required 10 to 8.
I'm sorry, what?
His variance request
Okay,
is from 35 to 30, required 35 to 30. And the side setback is from the required 10 to 8.
yes.
So is that,
If the variance, I didn't, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of the variance, what the request was for the variance. I was just, but based on the measurements today, yes, well, the front setback, the front of the facade that holds the deck, it should be at around 30 to 31 feet from the property line. And then, yes, we would have 8 foot 8 inches, give or take, it's be 8 foot. So the variance is matching what he's requesting,
okay,
or what is presented.
okay. Since there's, thank you for your time.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Any
Thank
more
you.
questions? You can have a seat, please.
All right.
There is I drove by this numerous times, and it's a very busy road. Can't go out, take a picture. But in our packet, there was a picture of, do I need to submit this to be shown? So there's a picture in our packet. Right. Could the applicant come forward, please, to discuss what this picture is, please? So the picture that is on the screen is what you submitted in with the variance request. And can you please explain what this pergola is and how it comes forward into the setback and then how it wraps to the side where you're in the side setback? Can you describe that to?
So basically, that just extends out and goes straight across. It doesn't wrap around the side. It just extends out from the front. It's just aesthetic, pretty much.
So the extension on your side is of what?
It's not, because the house is kind of tilted, it's just because you bring it out straight. That's why it kind of encroach on that setback on the side.
So the original foundation was set at a slight angle,
Correct.
and so you've built this structure, which is called a pergola. You built it out,
Correct.
and it goes along the front of your house, and then it turns a little bit, or?
No, it's
So
just
what is in that setback?
pretty much, you see that structure on the pillar on the left side there? It's pretty much that is on the setback, on the right side. It's just a pillar.
So it's the footings?
Yeah,
It's the
the-
footing
Correct,
is in the setback?
correct.
Okay.
Is there any way to trim back the areas that's encroaching so as not to compromise the structure, but as to be within?
If that's something I need to do, I could move the pillar over and just do some aesthetic stuff on that side and make it work. So I don't have to change anything. That's pretty much why we're here. It's just that one pillar, and I could move it over.
Okay, thank you.
So on your front setback, so you could move that over on your side setback, on your front setback?
I couldn't move it without ripping that down.
Okay, I have no more
But before
questions.
I build this, I'm sorry. Before I build this, I was told by the building department, that's why I didn't put a roof on it. If it's open air, it could be in the setback. Just like a deck or a,
Right, you were told that it could be a deck.
yeah.
and it didn't-
So that's why there's no roof on it. There's no roof on it. It's just open. It's just aesthetic that's slapped in the front of it.
Okay. All right, thank you. You can have a seat. Does anyone have any more questions of the two people that were here? I think you explained the difference between a pergola and a deck, and I think that we have enough information at this time, so. So I'm ready to make a motion. So I make a motion to deny V78. The applicant, step one, the applicant will revise plans and submit to the building inspector, building and inspections that show the modifications needed to come into compliance with the front setback and the side setback. Step two, the stop work order will continue until the new plans have been submitted and that there is a correct permit given for showing the front and side compliance with the setbacks.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I would request that the BZA member revise the motion. If the motion is to deny, then that needs to just remain a denial. With
Well, that remains into the denial,
No.
but
That's all.
just give a date of when this should all be in compliance.
Yeah, I think I think the applicant should be given a time period to come into compliance to avoid potential citations or further citations.
We can't put conditions.
I would recommend a timeframe is fine, but just to leave it as to a date certain by which the remedies need to be perfected and just leave it at that. That's my recommendation.
So then I ask for assistance with this, is I don't know how quickly it is for the applicant to go back with the correct set of plans, what he needs to do to come into compliance, and
Perhaps withdraw your motion, and then you can certainly ask staff for their recommendation about how long, what a reasonable amount of time that it will require to perfect that motion and that requirement.
so I make a motion to deny my, to withdraw my motion and request that someone from building and inspections come to discuss a time frame, please.
Yeah.
The building department will allow us up to 60 days. We've given grace so far with this. We have not extended the stop work order fines and fees, but we've been working with Mr. Mohammed throughout this process.
So within 60 days?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Brian. Mr. Johnson.
Madam Chair, was there a second on that?
No.
We need a second to withdraw that motion,
Deidre
and
was-
then we'll clear the table, and then we'll go proceeding with a new motion based upon your whatever your recommendation.
So do I have a second?
Second to withdraw that motion.
Please vote. Motion withdrawal approved. Now, thank you.
So I make a motion to deny V78 and the applicant has 60 days to come into compliance.
Second.
Okay, please vote. Denial approved. Thank you. All right. We have some housekeeping to do real quick. Have y'all had time to review the minutes from both the May 15th meeting as well as the work session on June 10th? Can I entertain a motion?
I make a motion to approve both minutes.
Second.
Seconded. All right. All in favor? Minutes have been approved. Oops. Now, do I have someone to give me a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right. Vote, please. All right. We are now officially adjourned.